I know my time is about to expire, but I want to say one thing. Being a new member of Congress, what has hurt me the most is a woman who was a teen mom who took my daughter on the bus every single day to childcare, and I got support. I then, as a transit-dependent person, once a month took an hour-and-a-half bus to get $26 worth of food stamps, then would go to college, and then my day job, and then pick that baby up and come back again. That baby is an attorney. She passed the bar on the first time. How dare we cut benefits of hard-working Americans?
All right, y'all, let's talk for a minute. So Trump just dropped what he's calling the big, beautiful bill. And I don't know about you, but every time I hear stuff like that, I already know it's about to be bad for us. And I was right. This bill isn't about helping everyday people. It's about pushing policies that hurt minorities, hurt our communities, and honestly, hurt the same folks who are cheering it on. What's wild is how some of these Republicans are acting like this bill is the answer to all our problems, when really, it's just another distraction. They're so focused on controlling people, taking away rights, and targeting the same communities they've always tried to silence that they're ignoring the real issues, like the economy, education, healthcare, and jobs. And here's something that might surprise you. Even Elon Musk, who doesn't usually speak out like this, is saying this bill doesn't make sense. If he's calling it out, you know it's serious. This ain't just about politics anymore. It's about what kind of country we're becoming. So in this video, we're going to break it all down. You'll see how people across America are reacting, not just the usual folks on the left or right, but regular people who are starting to wake up and see this bill for what it really is. And trust me, the reactions, they speak volumes. So I want you to watch this, listen to what's being said, and then you tell me, is this the kind of future we want? Let's get into it.
This Second Amendment says that one, if the Trump administration cuts SNAP, the budget by even $1, that the provisions in this bill that would cut federal employees' salaries, their pensions, labor protections would immediately expire. I know my time is about to expire, but I want to say one thing. Being a new member of Congress, what has hurt me the most is a woman who was a teen mom who took my daughter on the bus every single day to childcare, and I got support. I then, as a transit-dependent person, once a month took an hour-and-a-half bus to get $26 worth of food stamps, then would go to college, and then my day job, and then pick that baby up and come back again. That baby is an attorney. She passed the bar on the first time. How dare we cut benefits of hard-working Americans? I got to tell you the second thing that's really deeply on my heart. I learned that the child care workers in this here building who take care of the children of members of Congress make $30,000. You think they can pay for a 2-bedroom in Washington, D.C.? If you haven't been poor, don't legislate for the poor. Let's step up and protect Americans who are working with their full bodies, their full spirits. Instead, you are putting forth a bill that pathologizes the folks who need us most. Lastly, Madam Chair, I ask every Republican in the conference to walk with me after you vote this weekend. Get on a plane, come to the Children's Hospital in Oakland, and you tell the BMT nurses, you tell that mother who has a child with TMP in her nose, that that child may in fact die. Come with me and walk with me and stand in line like I did when my husband died at the Social Security office begging for a $600 death benefit. Walk with me. You all have an opportunity to vote your conscience, your spirit. Vote for the people. Vote for the real people of this country that keep the tapestry moving, and I'll yield back.
Oh my God, we are having an FAFO moment, and I am having mixed feelings about how I'm supposed to feel about this. Because here's the thing. We rent one of our little houses right next door to an 80-year-old little old lady. She's a dreamboat tenant, okay? She's been with us for 15 years. We've never raised her rent. We charge her $500 a month. She has a little dog. We fucking love her, okay? She does not own a car. She owns a flip phone that she gets 30 minutes a month. That's all she can afford. And she owns a television, but she only has the antenna. So she only gets like local fuzzy channels, and she barely watches TV ever. Okay? Now these motherfuckers right fucking next door, they are Trump humping fucking Nazis, but they do take very good care of her. They do a lot of errands for her, and they take very good care of her. Those assholes, they took their Trump sign down about 2.5 weeks ago. I didn't think anything of it because they fucking took their sign down in 2020 and put it back up in 2022. So, okay. But today, when I was leaving and I was going to go over and ask her if she needed anything while I was out and about, she was crying in the yard. And I was like, what's going on, love? What's happening? And she fucking verbally vomited all of the things that she found out could happen to her. Because these motherfuckers have decided, since they're all moral and high ground now, and now they're regretful of their god vote, they're worried about her. And they're worried that her services are going to get cut off. And she was fucking flabbergasted. What do you mean my services get cut off? What do you mean on my SNAP benefits I may not get my SNAP? What do you mean my Medicaid might get cut? Very confusing for an 80-year-old who has zero fucking information. And her only concern was that whether or not we were going to raise her rent, because those motherfuckers put it in her head that we would raise her rent. Because yeah, let's kick a dog when they're fucking down, you fucking cunts. I said, no, we're not Republicans. We don't make $1 on someone else's goddamn hardship. And she started to defend Trump a little bit because those motherfuckers convinced her to vote for him. Just FYI, she came out clean on that. And I had to let her know that it's not the Republicans in the House. It is Trump. I said, and he doesn't give two fucks that you're out here in your yard right now crying about your SNAP benefits because he's on television right fucking now bragging about a big, beautiful golden dome that he wants to spend at a minimum $175 billion with a B. I said, and your little SNAP benefits and your little Medicaid fund that you're going to get taken from, he wants to give that to the richest people in America. He doesn't give two fucks about you. He never has, and he fucking never will. So let your fucking neighbors know who voted for him, who got you to vote for him. This is on them and people like them. It's not okay. And I said, and you can let them know, if you don't have access to the information, maybe they should just shut all the way the fuck up about it until maybe something happens. I don't know. We're in Oregon. I'm hoping that we're slightly protected because we actually have a state that its people does work for its constituents. So, oh God, it's so fun here in America.
If you haven't looked at Trump's billionaire tax cut bill, you probably should take a look. It's 1,000 pages of screwing you over. $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts for the richest people in society, all while taking $1 trillion out of Medicaid and from hungry kids. In my district, that's about 155,000 people that will see SNAP cuts. So we've got enough money to give the guy who owns both of these a tax cut. We don't have money to feed our kids or help someone see a doctor. So yeah, Trump's okay with screwing you over in these 1,000 pages. He's got you to pay for the renovations for his new plane. When I'm in Congress, I say no.
Elon Musk, who is, of course, a big Trump donor and has been by the president's side as a special government employee for the first few months of the term, is criticizing the president's so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. Musk has notably played a leading role in the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, with the stated goal of identifying and eliminating, quote, waste, fraud, and abuse within the federal government. The tech billionaire is criticizing Trump's massive agenda bill, which the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates would add $3.8 trillion to the deficit, saying he believes it undermines DOGE's recent efforts.
So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, everything he's done on DOGE gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
After intense negotiations, the House narrowly passed Trump's agenda bill last week. Now all eyes are on the Senate, where it faces challenges and potential changes. Republicans have set a goal of getting the bill to the president's desk for a signature by the 4th of July.
Poor white people should know that they're voting against their best interests. Poor white people need to see the light, that voting for rich billionaires doesn't help them. They see the light. They know what they're doing. They know that they're voting against their interests. They know, and they don't care. They're angry and upset that their whiteness has not saved them from the doldrums of being poor, and they know in the depths of their poor white souls that they do not have the skills, the ambition, or the smarts to survive in a world that requires all of those things to not be poor. Let me tell you something right here, right now. poor black people and poor people of color become disillusioned and, become jaded. That's it. Poor white people become domestic terrorists and mass shooters. This is why our efforts to build bridges, to build community, to reach across the aisle, to do all of those things fail time and time again, because we're dealing with a group of individuals who know that they have experienced generations of life-altering poverty as the result of actions from other white people who are wealthy and privileged. They know good and goddamn well that black people just got the right to vote less than 60 years ago. So it's not black people, and it's certainly not immigrants and people of color who are making the policy and legislative decisions that render poor white people poor. It's not black people and people of color making those policy decisions. It's other white people, privileged, college-educated white people who are making those decisions. And poor white people know this. Fundamentally, they know this. They are just that full of hate and insist upon directing their hate towards black people and towards people of color because at their core, they're racist no matter what. That's what you have to understand about white supremacy and about many white people in general. No matter how disenfranchised they may be on the basis of income, on the basis of lack of education, on the basis of disability, on the basis of neurodivergence, on the basis of LGBTQ status, whatever it is, they're still white and they will still cling to that white privilege especially when they have no other privileges or systems of power with which to cling. That is why trying to build community and solidarity with many poor white people, especially in rural areas, falls short. Even when there are poor white people who see the vision, who see the light, and who try to rally their Caucasian brothers and sisters in arms, those poor white people who see the vision, they're vastly outnumbered, outgunned, outmanned by these other poor white folks who sit up there with generations of rural poverty and vote for someone like Donald Trump.
By now we've all seen the reactions. We've heard what people are saying. We've watched the clips. And if you made it this far into the video, you already understand. This so-called big beautiful bill is anything but beautiful. It's dangerous. It's divisive. And it's part of a long pattern of political games that leave everyday people, especially minorities, struggling while the powerful pat themselves on the back. Let's just be real. This country knew exactly what it was doing when it voted Donald Trump back into the spotlight. This ain't his first rodeo. Folks saw what happened during his first term, how communities were divided, how policies were passed that harmed the poor, the disabled, the immigrants, the voiceless. But still, they brought him back. Not because they were blind to his agenda, but because they supported it. That's what hurts the most. Even when they see their own grandma and grandpa struggling to afford medicine, when they hear their own family members crying out for help, they stay silent. They stand by this man. Why? Because for too many people, it's not about policies or progress. It's about power, control, and holding on to a version of America that was never made for all of us. Now let me get personal for a minute, because this bill, it doesn't just threaten my future. It threatens the very people who helped build this country, our seniors, the folks who sacrificed, who worked their whole lives, who deserve rest, respect, and support. How can you look at an elderly person, someone barely able to walk, living on a fixed income, and say, "Sorry, there's nothing we can do for you"? How do you sleep at night knowing you backed a bill that guts funding for programs that help grandma get her insulin, or pay for her home nurse, or keep her from going hungry at the end of the month? And don't tell me, "Oh, but there's a $4,000 tax break in the bill." That's a headline, a distraction. Because what's really happening is they're shifting costs, gutting services, and trying to tell us it's a favor. It's not. It's a setup, one that robs Peter to pay Paul and leaves the most vulnerable folks hanging in the balance. Let's not forget, there are millions of people in this country living with disabilities. Folks who didn't choose the hand they were dealt. Folks who need a little extra help to live with dignity. This bill, it doesn't have them in mind. Not once. In fact, if you read the fine print, it opens the door for cuts to Medicaid, which is a lifeline for disabled individuals and low-income families. And the message is loud and clear. If you can't produce, you're a burden. If you're not profitable, you're disposable. Now look, let me be clear. I'm not saying folks who are fully able to work should just sit back and do nothing. If you're healthy, strong, capable, yeah, you should be out here doing your part, just like the rest of us. working, building, contributing. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about folks who are already down, folks who are already fighting every day just to make it to tomorrow. This bill doesn't just miss the mark, it aims for the wrong people. It targets those who need a hand up while rewarding those who already have 10 hands in the pot. And that, to me, is the real issue. Let's not act like Trump's doing all this on his own. The real danger is the system that lets this happen. The Republicans backing him, the voters who ignore the pain their decisions cause, the media that spins every lie into just another opinion, the business leaders who smile in his face because it helps their bottom line, even when they know it's wrong. And yes, even people like Elon Musk, who despite all his privilege and power, had the sense to say, nah, this ain't right. When Elon, someone who's benefited more from tax breaks than anyone, is speaking out against it, that tells you something. But don't expect too many of Trump's followers to care, because for a lot of them, this was never about making America better. It was about making sure they stayed on top, even if it meant watching their own people fall. This bill is over 1,000 pages long. Buried in that are tax breaks for the rich, cuts to programs that help the poor, rollbacks to environmental protections, new barriers to healthcare, changes that'll impact our schools, our housing, our communities. But they dress it up with nice words like freedom and relief, hoping we won't dig deeper. So I'm begging you, don't just go off the headlines. Don't trust what the loudest voice in the room is saying. Do your own research. Ask the hard questions. Follow the money. Look at who benefits and who gets left behind. Because too often, it's people who look like us, who come from where we come from, who pay the price. We deserve leaders who care about everyone, not just their donors, not just their base, not just the people who look like them or worship like them. Everyone. We deserve a country where seniors don't have to choose between food and medicine, where kids can grow up without fearing the system, where disabled folks can live with dignity, and where hardworking families don't have to break their backs just to survive. We can build that, but it starts with knowing the truth, speaking out, and not letting these folks distract us with shiny language and empty promises. If you've been rocking with me through this video, I appreciate you. For real, I made this not just to inform, but to speak from the heart, because I'm tired of seeing our people pushed to the side. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of the cruelty disguised as policy. And I'm even more tired of folks acting surprised like they didn't know this was coming. They knew. They always knew. But they didn't care. Not until it hit them. Not until their own grandparents started suffering. Not until they saw themselves in the mess they created. Well, we've been in that mess, and we're done suffering in silence. So I want you to share this video, leave a comment, tell your story, speak up for your elders, speak up for your neighbors, use your voice, because right now, that's one of the strongest tools we've got. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and remember, we are not powerless. We just have to stay informed, stay united, and stay ready. I'll see you in the next one.